Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Con Job, your favorite convention-related podcast. This week, we're going to be doing a review of Megacon, which took place February 6th through the 9th in Orlando, Florida. And I guess if you don't know what Megacon is, you probably shouldn't be listening to this show in the first place. But hope you guys enjoy.
This is
And
from vocal warm-ups.
We are back, and this week we're going to be doing a review of the granddaddy of them all, I guess, right? I guess this is between
like
this and New York
granddaddy.
and Dragon, right? So we'll just say it's in the family. It's in the family. But we're talking about Megacon. So let's get going. So yeah, we have three points of view from three kind of different areas in the hall, right? You guys are both on the red carpet, but you were pretty far away from each other, and then I was a little bit further to the other end and one row off the red carpet. So I feel like we can get a good mix here. So
we were all carpet adjacent, at least. I can't complain about that.
Yes, and I also spoke to some other people, like in Artist Alley and stuff like that, like in the different areas. So we can kind of put that information in there. So let's go. What do you guys think?
Well,
I guess, I was gonna say we were pretty distributed. I had a lot of lessons learned. Just if we're talking about how was your weekend, it was fine. Megacon, I think I've said it on here before, has always been one of those that it's been hard to crack when it has this many attendees. For us, it just feels like we should be doing more, even though if you compare it to most other shows, we're doing better. So I would call it a fine Megacon. Not great, but not bad.
Yeah, I will say the same thing. And you know what? I'm always saying if they build it, or if you build it, they will come. And they built it, and they came, and it was also still not. There's other shows that are much smaller that we were able to maybe do a little bit better of. But that, I'm going to say, is all on us, because
there's shows that are much smaller that you're able to do better at.
I personally, and
100%.
Yes, really? But I mean, Megacon's still great, so it's still a top tier show. But because it's so top tier, the expectations are so top tier, at least in terms for us. So still had a wonderful time, and like you said, a lot of learning lessons. But one thing, could not be happier with the placement. So that is a wonderful thing to have.
Placement was good, yeah.
What are some of the lessons that you guys were talking about, though?
Well, I can. Dylan, do you want to go first, or you want me to? I have a whole thing.
I got one. So last year, Megacon's so great. I'm like, all right, let me bring my wife and I, and let me bring 2 extra employees. Let's all the whole 9. Let's have bigger displays. We got to get a minivan so we can fit more stuff. All this stuff. And this year, I was like, you know what? I think my wife and I can just handle it. We don't need all of the stops. And we basically did the same thing as last year. So we did slightly less in sales, but profit was just so much better than the year before, because I wasn't trying to chase some giant vanity number. Instead, we just had a wonderful show. So that was a lesson that I guess I succeeded in learning.
Is it less stressful with just having you and Valerie versus having? I mean, I know it's less stressful when you're at home.
Like there are certain shows that have just as much of an attendance. Like I couldn't imagine having 2 people working a New York show, but Megacon, I don't think a 3rd or 4th person would have moved the needle at all, really. And so it was actually wonderful. It was just the true dream team, my wife and I working the show, and actually got to see some celebrities and relax, and did it in a much it was like the most enjoyable Megacon, even if it wasn't the highest sales. It was the highest profit and the most enjoyable Megacon to date.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan and I had this conversation at the show. We also, I was running back through Square on some numbers, and years past, like if you go Square, it shows your top items by like count, by gross and all that stuff. We, over years previous, I mean, we had like 15, 20 different product types that were all like, we have our top 2 or 3, but beyond that, everything was kind of really close together. So it'd be like, oh, we're doing 500 of this thing, 500 of this thing, 500 of this thing, whatever the numbers are. This year, we have streamlined a lot of that, and the numbers almost add up, but it's across fewer things. And those fewer things are actually, a lot of them are more profitable now. So I think the same deal. If you want to chase that vanity number, it feels so good to say we beat last year. But really, when it comes down to is like profit, right? So I think when we look at that, we were down overall, or like around 10%, which it's 10% of a big number is a big number. So it wasn't awesome. But if you look at the actual profitability of the show, it's like almost exactly the same. So it's one of those things, like during the show, you're chasing a number and you're not feeling super awesome. But ultimately, I think we got there. I do think one of the lessons is that anybody expecting this year to be easy probably has a lot to figure out. I don't think this year is going to be easy based on what I've seen. I know I tried getting several people to take a few minutes and jump on the call here, and I couldn't get anybody that was willing to do it. So I know a lot of people had a hard time at the show. I know a handful of people that did amazingly well. It's big Megacon. So I just think this year for a lot of people is going to be about chasing profit, not necessarily that big number.
How about you, Ryan? Anything new about 2025 versus previous years?
No, I mean this was our, I think our 10th year doing it, 10th or 9th, I can't remember which one, but I feel like we are in the spot where we kind of know what that demographic wants. Like it's our home show, she has a lot of followers in that area, because we have a lot of Disney stuff, so there's a lot of Disney people that come to see us. So yeah, I mean, I feel like it's every year it's this in New York that kind of fluctuate back and forth between our best show, and I think New York is just simply because of the sheer numbers. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, so I think I didn't learn anything that I know of. We did bring stickers this year, like the little 4-inch stickers this year. We had like 25 of them, 25 different options, so it wasn't like we brought a ton of them. And I was worried that it was going to hurt sales because people were just going to, buy just the stickers. You know what I mean? So it was like we did have, because we sell the small canvases, and those are 120 for 3 of them, right? Because they do buy 2 get 1, and then you do a couple of those sales, and then someone comes and buys 1 sticker for $6 or whatever, and it's like, damn, there goes our average sale. But that wasn't what was happening. I mean, it was, people were doing that periodically, but for the most part, I feel like the stickers were more of an add-on. Like, hey, I'm checking out. Oh, let me do a 4 for 20, or let me grab 1. So it was more of that happening. So that was good. So if I learned anything, I learned that that was a good little addition, because I know, Dylan, you said it's good for us to try to add in some of the lower price items as an add-on, or at least they can walk away with something versus nothing.
Yeah, so, I'm so glad to hear you say you did that, because maybe that person, was never going to spend 120, but at least you got 15 out of them. And
right. Or, we were talking about this too. How many of those people are coming back? Like, Meg's having to paint like her life depends on it to try to have new stuff every year for this show.
And it does.
And yeah, it does.
Her shoe closet might depend on it. I don't know about her life.
I think this year more than any other year, we had people coming back. For sure. Oh yeah, the car. I think this year we had more people than ever coming back saying, "Oh, I have this and this and this," showing off their house, and it's full of our stuff, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
But now it's like, all right, what else do you want to buy? And it got to the point to where it's like before they were spending $100 on something. Now they're just like, ooh, I just want to get something. And now they have like a little thing to get. Whereas before they might not have bought anything new. So even though it might hurt the average sale, it's nice to have those cheaper things that people can just give. It's almost like getting a tip. It's like, it doesn't really cost much. It's just somebody trying to do something nice.
And yeah, obviously we want that average order value to be as high as possible, but in the end, we want that sale more than anything. The average order value is just another vanity number too. Like, so
one thing that I did notice, so so we have some Disney stuff and we sell a lot of the princess art and stuff like that, but two of her very recent paintings is the one of the Rapunzel where it's the castle in the background with all the lanterns and Rapunzel and Flynn are in the boat in the front, but they're very small. They're not like the main focus. It's really the lanterns. And then she just finished the Disney World castle with all the fireworks. And it's more of like a scenery kind of thing, both of them. And I got to tell you what, those things sold like freaking, like I brought 40 of the small prints and I brought 30 of the large prints. We sold a crap ton of the big canvases, a crap ton of the small in just those two. I mean, obviously we sold other stuff as well, but those things really seem to be a big hit. So it's like, I wonder if should she do more of like a landscapey kind of Disney? No, almost like not like a Thomas Kincaid, but something in that area versus, hey, here's just a picture of Jasmine.
Do you think it's the same thing as like you can walk through Disney World, you can walk through Magic Kingdom, you're in these places, you might not even see a princess. You're still having fun being in these things.
Yeah, but
kind of the same deal. You don't need the character.
Just the feeling you get when you're in the park. Though.
Yeah.
Different. You get that churro and that's it. It's all downhill from there.
She should do a churro. That's what she should do.
I'd eat it.
The Mickey ice cream bar.
But they could do anything with Elsa and I'd take it too. So. But yeah, you're right. I agree with you there. But it's something. Maybe when I say we didn't learn anything, I could say we learned something in that respect. That it was like, maybe this is a new niche to start going down, or I don't know.
Scenery.
You talking about bringing so many canvases? That's another thing we kind of did on profitability is last time. We have these big box sets that we sell, and I brought so many last year.
Some of yours.
Oh yeah, so I brought so many last year, and when they didn't sell, I had to pay to ship them elsewhere, because I didn't have you last year to just take them back. But this year we brought less, and we were just taking orders, and so I think if we had more, we might be able to hand it to them. That's an easier sell, but not having to ship so many bottles up and right there's more profitability and just take the order. So. Just planning more accordingly this year than last year also just made things so much easier.
Yeah. And one thing we did too, so we've actually done this quite often, but we really made a point this year is like for the big canvases, like we can only bring so many, right? And we brought a few of the newer ones like the Rapunzel and the castle that I was talking about. And as they started selling out, it was like we got down to the last one of them was out on Thursday. Because I didn't expect it to go that quickly. And then the other one was out on Friday. So what I told the people, I was like, look, I'll give you extra prints. I'll give you whatever I can to keep this at my booth until Sunday so that I can, because if people see it, they're going to want to buy it. Whereas if it's not there and I go, we could do it in a big print. You could just imagine, or in a big canvas, you can imagine what it'll look like. If they can see it, they're going to want it. So I'm not kidding you. I must have sold at least 6 or 7 of each of them after I sold the last one because they let me keep it at the booth. And
wow.
They came
so
back.
You definitely would not have done that with it gone.
No, I might have sold
no chance.
1 or 2. I might have sold 1 or 2, but no way that many. No way.
No, that's
they just
awesome.
See it. Like how many people just came up and go, I want that. And it's like, well, you're not getting that one, but I will ship it to you and you'll have the exact same one, I promise. So yeah, that was a big thing for us.
So this was a show for experimenting, and I know you tried to experiment with something, Ryan, and at least by Friday it wasn't quite working. Your giant new LCD screen having some trouble.
It was.
I will say.
So, go ahead.
Once it got going, it looked really nice.
Yeah. So it's a Android, and I'm an Apple household, and it was an Android operating system. So it has the Google Drive, and it just was not. I couldn't get anything bigger than like 1 minute video on it. So that was all I could get to play over and over, was a 1 minute video. So then I brought it back to the room Friday night, and I needed to connect to Wi-Fi. And once I got that all taken care of, and I was able to download because it has like 100 gigs of space in it. I just needed to I needed to connect to Wi-Fi so I could download into it. And once I was able to do that, I wound up getting like an 18-minute video, and I just kept playing that over and over. Now I have an hour and, I don't know, 15-minute video that can play over and over. So
for context, Ryan's talking about he had a video, a big LCD screen of Meg drawing and stuff, and you kind of just see, hey, this is actual hand-painted artwork.
You see her hand, you see her, and it's literally just like, I think there was like 8 paintings of her from beginning to end in like a, 1 or 2 minute video.
And so there's no way to get true stats on if that expense was worth it. But would you say it was worth having?
Personally, I say no. Meg absolutely loved it. I don't think anybody came to the booth and goes, "Oh, you actually hand painted that? I'll take it." No, they don't. I in my opinion. But
what if Meg wasn't there? Obviously, Meg's there. They're talking to her. She's talking about the process. What about this is one of the shows where your workers there?
That could. I don't know.
I will say,
I get that question a lot. Are you the artist? It's like, really? Do I look like I paint this stuff?
Ryan, you're probably a little too close to the situation. I think you don't. You see it every day. I think there's a lot of people that see it. They see the art, and they're like, "Oh, that's really pretty. She painted that. That's awesome." But when you see how much time and work she puts into these like tiny little details, I think people see that. And even if it just gets them excited enough to buy an extra print or something like that, maybe the print in the video, who knows? I think something like that can be helpful, especially if she's not there. Now, if it's worth carrying that giant thing around,
and it's
a different question.
It's not super heavy. I don't know if you guys didn't see me wheeling it. I had to wheel it back to the room Friday and just throw it over your shoulder. It's just a long.
I saw you throw it around behind the booth.
Yeah, so it's on wheels. The base of it has a little charger, so you can charge, and it'll last, I don't know, a couple hours. But I obviously had electricity, so I was able to plug it in, so that wasn't an issue. But I don't know. I'm curious to see what people think. So if they want to chime in and think like other vendors or anyone that's listening or watching on YouTube can tell us what they think.
If anybody saw it.
I got a lot of wild display ideas, and I'm sure my team is like, no, we do not need another tech thing that'll break or tap the wheel in. But I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. So
I found out this weekend that Dylan's like the mad scientist tinkerer, and everybody just has to keep him in check, or else he'll just go crazy and do like everything will be like a new device.
It's true. I was like looking at your LCD screen, and I'm like, Ryan, you need to make this the magic mirror from Snow White, and like 3D print some edges around here, or it's like like LCD screen. Anybody can have that. You gotta make this thing a Disney thing, and then
it's not a terrible idea, to be honest.
No, it's a great idea. Just now you got to do it.
Yeah, like I know Dylan, we had talked about doing the lamp, right? Rub the lamp and yeah. So. All right, so let's get, I guess, back to the show then. Did you guys notice anything comparatively? Because I like to compare day to day when I'm talking about a show. And just comparatively, Thursday and Friday we were up, and Saturday and Sunday we were down from last year. Now, last year was our second or third best year. Just 2 years ago was our best one. So we were up from last year, down overall, but just slightly, very slightly. But I just noticed like Thursday, it was like, hey, I beat last year Thursday. Friday, I beat last year Friday. And then Saturday comes, you're like, as long as I stay on pace, we're good. And then it was like, womp womp,
Yeah. So, same for us. Thursday and Friday were like beat for beat. Saturday was the biggest discrepancy. Right? It just the energy in the room.
It was busy.
It was busy, but it was never
busy in terms of people walking.
Saturday,
not busy in terms of shoppers. Yeah,
there were bodies. At one point, I had recorded like a minute-long video of people walking past the booth, and it was just like watching zombies shuffle like from one point to the other. And it was like, either facing their phone, probably checking for photo ops or where their panel was or whatever. I will say the red carpet, I can talk for hours about, the psychology of the red carpet now, but I think it's just, it's like a path for people to get to different things that they're wanting to do, and they don't even necessarily really pay attention to what's going around them because they're just trying to get from A to B. They're getting to the North Concourse to go see a panel upstairs over there. So that video, I think if there was 1,000 people walking in front of the booth, which there was a lot of people, I think, a small select 15% of them even glanced over. So that's tough to see. I do think part of it was us. We, in years past, and I could just be thinking crazy and not remembering things because I've never been on the red carpet at that show. Okay. But I'm pretty sure the carpet used to go booth to booths, meaning they would have every inch in between booths on that aisle was carpeted up until the front of your line on your booth. This year, they just did one single roll right up the middle, leaving these big, huge gaps. And I think psychologically, people didn't want to deviate from the carpet. They were like, this is my path. I'm on this path. So I think one thing we could have done had we realized it was going to be like that is we would have pushed our booth out more. We would have,
you could have got away with it,
we would have had we would have made the front of our booth where people were shopping like right up to our line, because we expected there to be carpet, and then we always leave like a foot or two for people to come in. So I think, we were anticipating the carpet being closer to the booth, but another one of those things, you record a video, there's hundreds and hundreds of people, but there's only like a small amount of them deviating from the red line. So I think it's just it's a human thing.
At one point,
you follow the path.
At your booth, remember at one point we went out and kind of got right on the edge to funnel people a little bit closer to the booth.
Yeah, and what happened? People started looking at it and they're like, oh, and they were building up a crowd. And I don't necessarily condone tactics like that, but it's fun to see if it worked. Yeah, it worked.
It did.
So I think I think next year, if we're lucky enough to get like a good spot again, and also we were in the middle of the show, so we had people all weekend coming back to, not all weekend, mostly Saturday, Sunday, saying, oh, I saw you before, I couldn't find you again, which to me sounded kind of crazy because it's like, oh, we're just right here on the red carpet, aisle 4,000, you should know. But they don't pay attention when they're doing it.
And I think
even when
and there's 2 red carpets too. So
yeah, so I think they were like, oh, it's on the red carpet somewhere. The booth numbers people barely pay attention to. I think they look for landmarks and things like that.
Yeah, like if it's great if you have the big thing over the head of the booth, like, oh yeah, I'm 4,000, I'm right under the sign. Other than that, it's like it's a little piece of tape on the floor. Nobody sees that.
Exactly. Yeah. So we had a lot of people trying to come back that had seen it. So that was like, I wouldn't say frustrating, but it's just part of having a show so big. You can get lost in there. I think this year adding so many vendors also, I think that always dilutes the money in the room. Because even if a new vendor's only bringing in $1,000, that's still $1,000 that's not somewhere else.
Talk about that, because you compare from year to year the amount of people. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Normally, I am a firm believer of, again, and this is me being down, that bring on the competition and bring on the people and make yourself stand out. And just this instance, there were so many people, so many vendors. So yeah, I can say that maybe that's one thing that diluted it. But again, I take that as a good challenge, and it's good for the customer. It makes them want to come back. And
yeah,
so
I will say, and that's part of, like, us being slightly down, I think had less to do with that. But when you're talking to someone trying to get into the show and you're trying to set expectations, it's one of those things where I know more people that had a bad show than good. From not necessarily bad, not bad. Right. Bad with an asterisk. Yeah. It's just I know a lot of people were down, and there's a lot of vendors that can't have a miss. And when you miss at a Megacon, something like that's so expensive, it hurts.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, all right, yes, we're going to let 100 more tables in, whatever that number is. You know, if all of them are expecting to bring home, you know, I don't know anybody's numbers, 5, 10, 20, 50,000. That's not real. That's not realistic. You're not bringing that many more customers in. So it's got to come from somewhere.
What was the difference from this year to last year? Do you remember offhand? I want to say it was like 100, right?
When you add, it was like vendors and artists, it was like, I want to say it was like 2 something. I didn't go in and I didn't scrape the data and compare it this year, but I did do just a count. And I think it was like a couple hundred when you're counting artists.
Vendors, not just 10 by 10 spaces. Booths. You're talking about like,
it's not, that's individual booths. So not like, well, I say that it's actual vendors. So between, you know, someone getting a single spot or a double or a triple or whatever, it's just an extra, that number of vendors and artists. So it's just, that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying people are going to be chasing the profits this year. We're reaching that point, I think, and hopefully I'm wrong, who knows, where shows are becoming more expensive. The expenses to come in are just higher, hotel, whatever. Money's getting tighter for people just from if their budget doesn't change year to year, they have less for us, right? Autographs are becoming more expensive. Photo ops are becoming more expensive. Hotels are becoming more expensive. Parking's more expensive. $500 at a show in 2025 doesn't go nearly as far as it did in even 2021. Now. Yeah. I mean, between VIP tickets at a lot of these shows are hundreds of dollars. So you just have to really, Dylan, talk about bringing on the competition. That's what it is. Like, you're going to just have to be better, and it's going to be the people that can consistently do better are going to be the ones that probably don't notice much of a change. And then you're going to have a lot of people kind of in the meat of things that are going to have it harder. I don't know. I could be way off base there, but just the way it's just a feeling about how way things are going.
You talked about VIP, Thursday 2-hour VIP. How do we all feel about that?
Anyone who's ever listened to one version of this podcast can tell you how I feel about VIP, especially 2 hour.
Most VIPs, but now we're talking Megacon. How do you feel about?
Honestly, a half hour to an hour is absolutely plenty.
I think 1 hour. Yeah,
I do think they were actually letting people in before 2 hours was up. I saw Thursday badges and regular 4-day badges after about an hour and some change. So I do agree, though. 2 hours is very excessive. I don't really have great perspective on it because I'm not an attendee, but my understanding is a lot of the celebrities aren't even there.
Yeah,
Thursday at 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's maybe I don't see the appeal other than people are just excited. They already have time off. Maybe they just want to come through. We don't sell enough.
Majority of our sales for any VIP, even for Mega this time, was to vendors.
Yeah. The first, we actually Thursday. We started off pretty good. It was like instantly, like we sold something as soon as the door opened.
Similar, yeah.
And it was fine, but I just don't think it's super necessary. But if they can sell it as a perk, that's just, to them, it's probably a perk that costs them nothing.
Money. I agree, but then again, you have to be there an extra 2 hours freaking early. But again, it's not just Megacon. They do that for New Orleans. They do that for Cleveland. They do that for their smaller.
Not 2 hours though, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I lose track.
I know for a fact Cleveland's 2. I can't remember New Orleans, but I know for a fact Cleveland's 2 hours. It's a little excessive, but again, like you said, Jeremy, maybe it's a good selling point. Hey, get in the show 2 hours early. I'll charge you an extra $20. So whatever it is.
It's hundreds of dollars.
Is it really? Yeah, for Megacon.
Yeah, I know they have like VIP and Ultimate. I think they get into like the $300 to $500 range.
But that's also because they're getting panel access, right? And maybe front
you get to like special lines for
So that's
because a lot of those people are there because we're talking to people. They're like, oh, I have 28 photo ops and autographs to do this weekend. It's like, how can you even how you keep up with that? But also, like, it just seems like so much time. But it's all about priorities. If that's what you're there for, that's what you're there for.
One thing we experimented with, and for I'm sure a lot of listeners, it's like, well, this is the doy, but like we had a Megacon exclusive print, and I feel like we never really have a show specific print, and so we had a variation for Megacon. And I'd be like, oh, here's this. I'm like, but here's our Megacon exclusive for an extra $10. Nobody even looked at the non-Megacon exclusive. And I'm like, oh, like this makes me think I should do these variants more often. It's because it's not really a complete redesign. It's hey, you want this only thing that I'm only ever going to print for Megacon, or I'll do this again for New York or certain shows. And so, that was a nice thing that just on a whim I kind of experimented with and was happy with.
Yeah, I was going to ask if Jeremy, have you ever done anything like that? Because we never have. Although you did Dragon, right?
Not at Mega. We do it every year at Dragon, and I mean, Dragon's a different one because that's like official. I know we talked to Rich about what does this look like, and I think it's more, a lot of it's like variant prints, books and stuff like that. We did stuff for New York this year just because we had a guest in the booth, and it did fine. But I think a lot of times, I think in that situation, people were just like, they didn't really want to do the upcharge when they could just have an 8x10 or whatever. They just wanted to meet the guys. So we don't have a ton of experience in that, but it is interesting. I think for us, what we do, I think if we could just do something where the show would let us slap a logo on something.
Yeah.
Like, just to say, Megacon 2025 and just have like a cool design with it. I think I would like to do that. But
and I'll say I didn't do the exclusive through Megacon thing that they offered, but now it's making me want to try that for next year. It was really just the one on display. When someone looked at it, I would pull out the standard, and they, I feel like if the standard was up, they would like it. But you see that exclusive thing, it really changed everybody's tune.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that's something that I would like to try at some point. At least have a conversation with someone. It'd be fun.
All right. Another thing of profitability, this is easy, and you guys, I think, do all the time. Normally I save money by getting a hotel far away, and I drive there. But I mean, between parking expenses and the extra almost hour driving around after closing, like we had a hotel just across the street, just walk there, 5 minutes to and fro, and like, oh my God, that was a game changer. That was another thing that just made this just so much better than the last 4 years, just not having to deal with 30 minutes to an hour of driving and traffic and paying with parking and everything.
Yeah, so some things are just worth it, but Jeremy,
so let me ask, is it worth paying double for your hotel?
Okay, at every show, absolutely not. But again, for this one, well, you know what? I also had an Airbnb last time, and I couldn't ship things to that Airbnb, and so then I also had expenses of having to ship it to this third-party place and picking it up. So dealing with that, absolutely, just having my stuff there across the street. doubles a lot, but and also the restaurant was there. I was happy with the restaurant, so I'm also not driving all over and feel like I was already sleep deprived the whole week. So and this week I would say yes, maybe double.
See, that's where we differ. Would it be nice? Yes, but we stayed at like one of these like big resort things where they like sell timeshares and stuff. Because I do Marriott, that's like all I want to stay at. But ours, we stayed for 8 nights, and the cost that it would have cost us at least double, if not more, because Ryan and them paid almost the same amount for 3 nights across the street, 4 nights across the street.
Yeah, 3 nights. 3 nights. You're right.
So for me, it was like 2 miles and change. We timed it one morning. It was like 5.5 minutes away from pulling into the parking lot. So.
And you had to pay for parking?
Yes, but we carpooled, so that got split. So and I will say the worst part is traffic. Getting out of there at night is horrific.
Yeah.
So if that's the biggest con.
In the car, it's one thing, and then you don't move. Like.
Yes, you don't move. That's the thing. Like we had dinner one night that we were trying to leave and go somewhere else, but we couldn't even get out. So we just got out of the car and went and ate closer to the show. So that, as far as that goes, but it's just one of those things where it's like, am I willing to pay double for a hotel? Probably not. So long as our hotel's like nice and it's all like a little of this, a little of that.
I mean, right? 90% of the time, I will go the save money route. I'm like, when we do a Dallas show, I'm an hour away. I'll drive an hour to the show and an hour back every day for load in all 3 days. I'm like, I'm not getting it, things like that. We had a 5 a.m. flight both ways. So it's like, I guess I'd pick my battles. The hotel was nice this time.
It's funny you say that because in Dallas, we always stay at the Omni so that we can just take that little bridge across. Because Dallas is a hellscape and it's 1,000 degrees. And if we tried walking from farther away,
a hobo will throw a bottle at you, as Ryan's daughter can attest.
We've seen far worse in Dallas. I can't even talk about it on here, but so we always stay close. So we pay a little extra in Dallas. So it just depends. This is one of those city by city things, I think. But for us, we found a good spot and is actually closer to Disney stuff, which if you're someone like us that uses Megacon as like an excuse to go do theme parks, it actually worked out really well for that.
Yeah, on that note,
very easy to get to, that's for sure.
I never usually find time to do that, but you guys were like, check out the Universal thing, and man, I cannot. That was the highlight of the whole trip. Like from 9 to midnight, having unfiltered access to Universal, like Hogwarts at night with the moon. Like, man, that was worth every hour of lack of sleep. So, thanks for suggesting that.
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah, I'm good.
Ryan was struggling.
I was struggling. I only went just for Max, for my little guy, to give him some extra.
Max had a great time.
Yeah.
I will say so. So last year was the Adam and Kaylee, the perennial vloggers.
Yeah.
So after going last year, I was like, it doesn't even matter what happens the rest of the show. Like, I'm coming back just to come do Universal like this. Because you don't have access to Universal. They have like some other places that'll like rent out the parks for the night for special events. But for the money and like the access you get to all the parks, this was like a no-brainer for us. So we just knew going in that it was going to be a long night. Early morning, we were going to feel bad, but it was worth it.
We didn't decide to go until 8:45, and we're like, oh, like if we want to go, we got to get there by 9. And we're like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah, I think we did. I think we showed up at like 8:30-ish, real quick, and
we did. Yeah.
But it was completely worth it. And I will say, I don't know if they're going to come back. I don't know what their deal is, but Disney was they had a booth at the show too, selling discount theme park tickets.
They never discount, so that's cool.
Right. So they had like Twilight tickets. They used to sell them. You could just get them where you could, like, after a certain hour, you could pay a discounted rate and go to one of the parks. So they were selling like discounts for multi-day tickets, and we ended up staying an extra day and did like an after one Epcot ticket. It was like $100. So it was like, I checked, the same ticket was like 170 or 180 if you went for an extra couple hours. So I was like, yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
So that was worth it. So like us,
definitely worth it, because for the most part, other than what was the first ride that Velocicoaster was the first one we went to, which everybody obviously goes to first. That was the only one that we had to wait on. Everything else was pretty much a walk on.
Oh, there was no line for that. It was Hagrid's motorcycle. That was the one that had 15-minute max line.
Jeremy went on. We literally got off, and the guy was like, "You want to go again?"
I said, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, he said yes, and then he said, I think Max went on one more time after that, and then Adam and Kaylee went on like 2 more times after that. So I was like,
yeah. Yeah, I've never ridden a roller coaster enough times to just be sick from riding the roller coaster repeatedly, but I did, and it was fun. Also, bonus, got to ride Guardians finally, and it was so worth the hype.
It's worth the hype for sure.
Man, I didn't even do that
years of waiting. Oh my gosh!
Anyone who rides that and says it's not worth the hype, then I would like to strangle you.
That's the ride that I never wanted to end. Is for
what
Velocicoaster.
Song did you get? Do you remember?
No, it was all a blur.
There's certain songs that are like make it really enhance it. I like can't think of remember. It's the Gloria Estefan. Come on, check my body. We can do that. That one. I don't know the name of the song.
It wasn't that one. I can tell you that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, overall, like, Megacon from a business perspective for us, we're not going to skip it. We're never going to skip it. We're making money. It's something, gets you out there. It's very visible. I personally think if you're applying for other shows, you say, yeah, we do Megacon. We're in Megacon, DragonCon, New York. We do all this stuff. Like, people are automatically going to assume you have the ability to do whatever show and have a decent presentation. So I think from that perspective, it's good to do. I mean, for us, that's like more of our friends are there than probably any other show at one time. So it's like it's just, we don't socialize except for at Megacon for the most part. So it's good to actually like let loose a little bit and have some fun. But we obviously re-upped, had a good time. I think next year our focus is going to be on maximizing whatever space we have, getting the booth configuration to a place that works for that show floor. You just need to do a better job of grabbing people when you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other booths to compete with that you wouldn't at like a smaller size show.
Right. And their fact that seems like they keep adding. And next year we're going back to the other hall, which is a little smaller. So I'm curious to see what Rich is going to do with how are they going to cram, if everyone, he always said, basically, if you're in, you're in, what's going to happen to the ones that they can't fit that many.
Well,
I don't think.
Unfortunately, I do know, I talked to a handful of people that didn't renew.
Really?
Yeah.
They're never getting back in.
They're not. And I think that's just one of those things where for right now they've decided it was worth dropping, and that's it's all a business decision.
You should just renew and sell your booth if anything else. Geez, I don't know if you're allowed to, but
that would don't ever do that.
I'm sorry, I don't want to condone.
That's against the rules. We don't break rules. Yeah, it's a business decision, and I think it's a tough one. Not one we would make. I think even if it's like one of those things where like how much is too much? Like, are you breaking even? Is that okay? Are you okay with just breaking even at Megacon every year? Or are you I made $500. It's a thing that everybody has to figure out.
I just think a show that big, it's I don't know how you can make that little unless you're just not. I don't know. You just don't have what the people want, or you just have too small of a booth. Maybe I don't know.
I do think that could be a problem. You have booths. A lot of people are trying to expand. It's hard to expand.
Artist Alley, people do go high and wide, and so they can't see you necessarily.
Yeah, I think visibility has a lot to do with success at this show. I think people want stuff. They're there to buy. So it's making sure that as many people see what you've got as you can, I think, is a big thing. So it's easy to get lost when you're a inline 10 by 10 or an artist with a smaller setup. And I know there was there's always guidelines that go out every year. It's like, you can't do this or this, and it's meant to make everything visible. But as soon as you start setting up, everybody's just building this fortress. Right. So it's like all that stuff goes out the window and it doesn't matter. So like I said, I think for us, visibility, it's like, and I will say, for anybody who gets on the red carpet, being on the red carpet is not a guarantee that everyone in the show will see everything. So you still have to make it work.
Our best year, we were facing the food court. But again, but still, love the red carpet. I thought it was the front entrance. Might have been the back by a entrance. I was like, please give me the exact same spot. So
if I had to nitpick, I would love to be the next booth over from me. I would like to be facing that other direction, like to the left rather than to the right.
Oh.
No. So like it was like two of us next to each other. We both had a corner in line. The t-shirt booth. Yeah. In my parents' basement. Also, excellent neighbors. Loved having them. They were very cool.
Oh, speaking of neighbors, and forgive me, Ben, I apologize. I don't have the card with me, but Ben, who he does engraved flasks, and he made me a pen that says, "This show's a gangbanger." So thank you, Ben. Nice. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, he was doing like on-demand engraving. So
yeah.
Ryan wasn't going to pass that up.
No, he just said, what's your favorite color? I said red, and he's like, okay, give me a few minutes, and he made it. He's like,
nice.
Nice.
Oh, also, thank you to everyone that stopped by and talked to us about the show. That was really fun.
Oh yeah, it's funny because Meg is the celebrity obviously at the booth, and I had like 3 or 4 people come up and go, "Oh, are you Ryan? Yeah, I listen to podcasts." She's like, "Geez, what am I here for?"
Yeah. It was really cool to hear everybody that likes listening. So had a good time. Let's do more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, all right, you guys have anything else you want to add? We're gonna go ahead and wrap this one up.
No, another great Megacon. We'll be back, and we will.
Obviously, we're all re-upping.
Mm-hmm.
It goes without saying. So.
Please, Rich, red carpet again. It's the only time I'll ask.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we will catch you. I don't know, whenever. See you.
How about next week?
Yeah.